Don't adjust your dial, you're on the correct channel, although you are in my workshop, which is honestly the stage of a different YouTube channel, but we're not talking about that today. What we are talking about today is the installation of that guy, a dual zone mini split from Turbro. As we get going into this video, guys, full disclaimer, Turbro did reach out to us and said, hey, Sam, Angela, you guys need our mini split. To which we replied, no, we're good. Our house has mini splits already. But then Workshop Sam, this guy, said, hold the phone. My workshop does not have a mini split. Yes, I do need your mini split. I'm just going to put it in my workshops. Thankfully, they were cool with that. So what you have today is an installation over here in the world of Sam, aka Samcraft, where we're putting the mini splits in my shop. But that's the reason you're in here, but you're on the Sam and Angela channel. It's because, well, I guess marketing reasons. Either way, if you're here, hopefully you don't care about what structure it's in, you just want to see it installed, so that is what we're doing now. The first thing we're going to do is begin mounting the brackets to the wall of the workshop. This is what's going to hold the condenser unit outside. It's a wall mount system. First time I've used it, but I've always liked them, and I'm eager to see how easy it is and how good it works. I'm using some stainless steel lag bolts connected to my impact driver with a socket adapter, and I'm driving this directly into the wall studs. I'm going to leave it loose for now. That way we get everything squared up here in a minute. But this way we can at least get the stuff started and in place. So the cool thing about this wall mount kit is it is adjustable. So I have 16-inch wide stud spacing, and I can mount this on the studs, and the wiggle room are in the slats that go horizontal that the unit sits on. You'll see that in a second. What I have now is the other piece I'm going to put on the stud, and to make sure I'm at the same height, I'm going to use this piece that comes in the kit to lay across the two, then stick my level on top. Basically give myself a straight edge to make sure these brackets are level with each other. So right here I've got this bracket just sitting on top, my level down in there, and I'm going to lower it just so it's there. Now I know where to attach my hardware and lock it into place.
We're putting the next pieces on, and I'm putting on the bolt, then a washer, lock washer, and then the nut. $13mm socket, and we'll be able to tighten these down. With that done, we can now tighten the brackets to the wall.
I'm going to purposely pull these brackets over as far as they go so that this is as wide as possible, because the unit that's going to sit on top of it is going to be wider, and it's just going to help things the best, at least be as stable as possible. So pulling my brackets all the way over, I'm going to tighten the top one. Pushing this bracket that way, tighten this. Now I'm going to double check my bracket is plumb. Looks good. Double check here. Good. And there we go. Next thing to do is to put these crossbars, one here, another one here, and that's what the unit is going to sit on and bolt together to next. I just measured the outdoor unit, and we need to use this slot and this slot. That's how thick the base is front to back. So I'm going to put the bar here and put a bar there, and then using the hardware, bolt these together. So these bolts are pretty long, but you want to use one flat washer, one lock washer, and a nut on each one. I looked to see if we had extra washers for the top, but there were not any included. So hopefully this will be fine. For now, we're just leaving things finger tight so we can still move this once we get the unit on top of this. Crash! Let's not joke around. Simmer down, Angela. Don't joke around too much. This reminds me of an erector set where individually no piece is doing anything, but together somehow it works. So in this kit you get some rubber dampening feet. These go underneath your outdoor unit and on top of your wall bracket. You also get more stainless steel hardware, so I'm going to pick these up one by one, put the rubber bushing in there, bolt it, and move on to the next. Again, making sure everything's pretty much finger tight. Once everything is attached that way, then we'll square it up and lock it down super tight. So this rubber bushing pad needs to go underneath the foot, but on top of this rail. Let's see if I can get this. Piece of cake, right?
Piece of crumb cake.
Yeah. It's like a no problem. Just don't want to push it off the rails. That's a nervous laugh, by the way. Hey, see? Piece of cake, right guys? These use the same flat washer, lock washer, and nut to tighten them down. These are getting finger tight as well. Once I have all 4 of these done, then I'm going to push this back as far as it will go. I will make sure the rails are parallel, then tighten down these bolts. Then I'll make sure this is parallel and tighten down these bolts. At that point, we should be all locked down. It is all tightened down and mounted. It is not rock solid. I mean, you can push, it wiggles, it is fastened correctly. It's just not rock solid. But I think honestly the movement is from those rubber feet and is going to work well for dampening and isolation of the noise, so you don't kind of hear it inside. However, if you got kids or feral kids like we do, don't let them climb on it. Show them, I don't know, tell them it's going to fall on them, whatever it takes. Otherwise, the outdoor unit is mounted. Now we're going to go inside and work on the indoor units next. So one of the units is going into my larger workshop, but it needs to go on this wall, which right now is nothing but shelves. So I need to Campbell Soup condense these shelves, maximize my space and organization better, but basically clear off some wall space for that indoor unit to go right there, which is on the wall opposite of where we just were outside. And then in here in my old shop, I call it the tiny shop, I need to put the unit on this wall right here, and same kind of system or story, I need to clear space out in here as well. So let's get a little bit of cleaning done, and I'll see you guys when I have room to mount the indoor unit in here and in the other shop. We're going to go ahead and open up the indoor unit. This is the 12,000 BTU, and it is the larger unit of the 2 that I got with this kit. Right on top, we are greeted with our template. This is what goes on the wall. Shows you where the bracket needs to install, where you drill a hole through the wall for your line set and power and condensate lines to pass through. So that is good. We'll definitely keep this. We're about to use that first. Otherwise, we've got like some dampening rubber feet. We have our power wire and our condensate drip hose, remote holder, remote, a few other bits and bobbins. And then the actual indoor air handler unit. This is the front, here's the vent, that's what opens up. Right up here on top, this is your air intake with filter that you clean out. And then on the back side, this is the metal bracket you attach to the wall. There is one screw here you need to take out. That way you can disconnect the bracket from the indoor unit. Take that guy out, and then you just push the little tab here, there, it pops out, and this is what we're going to mount on the wall first. Otherwise, on the back side of the unit, not a whole lot to talk about. You got your line set, your high and low pressure lines, your insulation, your condensate hose, and that's about it back here. I'm going to mount this indoor mini split unit dead center of this wall on this end of the shop so that it can push the air all the way down the length of my shop. I'm going to use the cardboard template. I'm going to hold it into place, being mindful that the minimum clearance from this unit, top of the unit to the ceiling, is 8 inches. Probably going to bring mine down just a little bit there. I want to maximize airflow, and I don't have to have it all the way up there for height reasons. Once I hold the cardboard in place, I'm going to use this sharp pointed awl, put me some 2 points here for referencing where the metal bracket will install. But then most importantly, I'm I'm going to put a point here in the center for that hole to be drilled so that it gets drilled in the correct location as well. The number one thing that I want to make sure is I don't put that hole location for all the line set, power, and condensate lines to pass through anywhere where it's going to hit a wall stud. That is the number one thing I'm worried about. I'm not worried about centering the unit on the wall so much as I am avoiding this hole with my wall studs. I'm going to go ahead and connect the wires up to the indoor unit so that I don't have to try and do this before mounting this on the wall. Behind this cover, you are greeted with a block with 4 different wire connections and a wire clamp to hold everything tight. Loosen the screw, pass your wires under this clamp, and then connect them to the terminal blocks as outlined in the instructions. If you look closely, the shrink wrap on the ends of these wires are labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, and those correlate with this block labeled 1, 2, 3, 4. If you have any questions, there is a wiring schematic on the door that we took off, so check that out, and of course also reference your user manual. Now that I have the wires attached to my indoor unit, I'm going to take the unit itself, carry it over to the wall, and before we put it on the wall, I need to take the line set that's in the back, carefully just rotate it out, pivot it right in the middle so they're pointing straight through, and stick them through the wall along with the wire outside. Once the wires, line set, and everything are through the wall, there's nothing binding, nothing in the way, then I will clip it on the top bracket and lock it into place on the wall, and then we're done inside for now. One other note, I have my wall thimble or the sleeve. This is going to be installed from the outside after everything's through the wall. So you're going to see me put the line set and everything through there, and you may think, wait a second, where's the sleeve? I'll put it in from the outside once this is all done. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'm going to push it through and outside anyway. Here in my tiny workshop, I'm going to put the AC unit pretty much straight across from the other. That way outside, when I have my line sets, they should be right there with each other and look as best as possible. I wouldn't say this is probably the best location for the mini split indoor unit for the orientation of the building, but this is still a small building. It's a 12 by 20 and it's going to do adequately. So this is one of those instances where I'm taking what looks best outside as priority number 1 and location as priority number 2. With the hole drilled and everything ready on the wall, I'm going to repeat the steps like I did with the first unit. I'm going to get my wires out. I'm going to connect them to the indoor air handler unit. Once that's done, fish the wires through the wall, pull the tubes straight out so they poke basically through the wall, straight through. fish it into place, lock it into place here, and then we'll go outside to put in our wall thimble or our sleeve, caulk it up, use the putty, close everything up, and then we'll start working on connecting line sets outside. Before I connected the line set, I made sure to read the manual, specifically the portion where they say that the indoor air handler units come pre-charged with a small amount of refrigerant so that when you take off the caps, you are supposed to hear the release of the refrigerant. Honestly, what came out of these is a lot more than I was expecting. So hopefully the manual is correct and I didn't just vent my refrigerant out into nowhere, but I didn't see another option around it for connecting the line sets. I guess their thinking is if the unit cracks, breaks, or gets damaged in shipping and you go to connect your line set to it and you hear nothing, you know there's an issue that you need to stop and then contact support. It makes sense. It's all logical, except for the amount that it seemed to come out of the units when I took the caps off. Otherwise, it's what the manuals say to do, so it's what I did. Well, I have my line sets connected up top, and as you can also tell, I'm doing something that may at first appear very weird and doesn't make much sense, but it's actually the best solution I've got. Since I'm connecting the mini split from basically one building to another, I had the option of going down the wall and then across to the outdoor unit, or going across to the other building and down the wall. I chose the higher option so that I can easily walk back and forth underneath here. No one has the risk of tripping or jumping on them, kids, or messing them up, and it's out of the way for most all operations. This is a dead end, so it's between two buildings and it's not a space that anybody really ever comes to, but at least having the line set up high helps prevent any kind of damage to it from humans. I know it's also going to become the perfect bird perch, so I'm sure the white tubing will just get a little more white, and of course in the spring and summertime I'll have to keep an eye on it for bees nests, wasp nests, stuff like that, but that's nothing different than I already do with stuff around the property. The overhangs of the workshop, the elevated floor structure, all of that just has general maintenance that this is not really going to add that much to. Our next area to work is right here at our outdoor unit, continuing to connect up the two line sets we have from each indoor air handler unit, as well as their power cords, and then our electrical whip that goes from our service disconnect box out here on the building and into the mini splits outdoor unit. First thing I'm going to do is take the screws off of this plastic cover that's kind of a trim piece around where the refrigerant lines hook up to the outdoor unit. With the cover off, we're greeted with what looks a little complicated at first, perhaps, but it's pretty basic. You have an A system up top, labeled to the right. This is your high and low pressure lines for one of your indoor units. And then you have a B system down below. The same thing applies, a high and low pressure system for those two lines as well. Depending upon the number of units or head units your mini split system comes with, you may have 2, 4, 6, or maybe even 8. Basically, you need 2 sets per line set to connect your refrigerant lines with. Now I'm going to take this cover off of the top up here. This is where all of our electrical wires will go into the system. The next thing in the user manual that tells us to do is connect up our mini split indoor air handler unit wires to the corresponding block. We have block A, block B, so we're going to make the one in the big shop, unit A. We'll go ahead and connect it into place just as it says, making sure to pass the wires through these rubber grommets and also connect them on the wire strain relief cable clamps. We'll do one, repeat it for the second one, and then we'll move on to the next step. Now that we have our indoor units wired up to this outdoor unit, I'm going to now install our electrical whip connection. This is what brings grid power, or off-grid power in our case, AC electrical power, from the structure, outdoors, through the disconnect box, which has been installed on the building here, and to the outdoor unit. This is a kit you buy at most hardware stores. It is called an AC whip or electrical whip, and it's an all-in-one kit, just like you see here, which makes this kind of installation a piece of cake. As far as connecting this, I have 2 hot wires, a black and a red, and 1 ground. So corresponding connections on the outdoor unit, L1 for line 1, L2 for line 2, and green is our ground. Alright, with our wires connected, now we're going to put this cover back on, and then we will go ahead and connect up the electrical connections for our electrical disconnect. And with that screw, that completes the electrical connections here. Now we're going to get on the other side of this whip and connect this to our service disconnect box, which is outside right on the building here. So here at our service disconnect, we have 3 wires to connect, red, black, and green, coming from our AC whip wire we just installed. That green wire is going to connect up next to the bare copper, and the red goes next to the red, and black next to the black. Alright, that electrical disconnect is wired up, however, still fully disconnected. I have the piece you pull out to disconnect it. It is staying unconnected. Next thing I'm going to do is hook up our refrigerant lines. This is the next step in the manual, so let's just keep on going, right? We're almost there though. So you have plastic caps on this side you want to take off. And again, there's a large and a small one that correlates to your line set lines, being large and small. Then you have a plastic cap on here. And then you just hand thread these onto the connection, being very careful not to cross thread or get them out of alignment. Alright, one line set is done. Now I'm going to repeat the process with this other one, trying to keep this as organized as possible, although it's not too easy. So I'm taking off all of these brass caps because what I'm about to do now is pull a vacuum on the system with my manifold vacuum pump and prepare it to open these valves and release the refrigerant into the whole system. The manual does outline this, however this step is usually when most people will stop and hire a local HVAC company to do this for them. I definitely recommend that if you're not comfortable or just overly ambitious like I am. So the first one I want to pull a vacuum on is going to be system A. So I'm going to thread on my adapter. This is what comes with my vacuum pump. So now this is deviating outside of the kit on the mini split. This is totally different products now. I'm then going to thread up the hose for my manifold gauge. And now we are ready to pull a vacuum. I'm going to turn on my pump and I'm going to watch my gauge here on my low pressure side. I'm going to pull it down to -1, let it run for at least 15 minutes, shut off this valve, turn off the pump, and watch it. I'm watching for any leaks at that point. Alright guys, it's been right at 15 minutes, so what I'm going to do is turn off this blue valve first to shut off the pump from the AC system. Now I'm going to shut off the pump, and I'm going to sit here for at least 5 minutes watching the gauge to make sure it does not move. That would indicate there is a leak somewhere. Alright, reading the manuals to you guys, so bear with me here. What we're going to do next is open the low pressure valve for about 10 seconds and then close it. Then we're going to quickly remove the pressure hose when the pressure indicates above 0. So basically disconnecting the vacuum system from the mini split system. After that, we're going to open the high pressure valve a quarter turn counterclockwise, then press the service port for 3 seconds. We're going to stop, then we're going to check for leaks. I have a bottle of soapy water that I'm going to spray on all the connections, everything down here at the outdoor unit, where my line sets connect, everywhere. And we're going to check for any leaks before we proceed further. The last thing we want to do is release our refrigerant into the environment, losing it out of our system because of a leak. So definitely worth the time. Soapy water test to make sure there's no problems. Nice. No bubbles. We're good, guys. No leaks. Our next step, now that we have leak tested and found no leaks, or bubbles, I guess you would see, we're going to go ahead and open the valves on the side of the units here, then replace the brass caps, and then we're going inside to turn on the power to fire this thing up. So we're going to open the low pressure valve first. Oh, that shouldn't be doing that. So apparently we have a bad Schrader valve, but thankfully I had my adapters here from the vacuum pump. I was able to put it there to close it off. That's not good, but we got it closed at least. So these little adapters may become permanent additions. That stinks. Let's try the second one and be ready with another adapter if I need to close it off as well. Alright, we're going to open up the low pressure valve on system B, and I'm ready with my adapter, which I grabbed because it has an O-ring and its own Schrader valve right here. So hopefully this one doesn't leak. Yeah, that's what we expect. You hear it going throughout the lines, but it doesn't spit out here. That one did that. It's alright, this adapter piece is really cheap. The only bummer is that you're not going to have this probably. Then again, your HVAC company that you hire, if you don't pull your own vacuum, they'll do this. So I don't know what to really tell you guys. I'm just making sure all the valves are opened, not really cranking down tight at all, like trying to break them, but just making sure they're all opened evenly. Now I'm going to get some soapy water and check for any more leaks since we had our issue. I don't see anything, so that's good. Now we'll go ahead and put our regular brass caps back on the system and close this up. These brass caps are just protective caps. They are not designed to seal anything. So I guess if you're wondering, Sam, why didn't you throw the brass cap on there? It's because it doesn't seal. These are just to protect things, keep them nice and clean and available for servicing when you need be. Alright, this is done. Now let's put our cover on and then we'll go inside. Alright, we're ready to turn on the power end here and hopefully hear some beeps. It has to go pee-pee. Alright. Shut up, Sam. Alright, let's put this guy on AC. Let's turn the temperature down. Alright, let's go in the old shop and turn that unit on as well. Well, it is on, it is running, and inside it's getting a little bit cooler. It may take it just a little bit to get up to, well, down to temperature, but that's pretty good. I've got some more work to do out here as far as putting our condensate lines, little hoses all the way down, get those attached, go ahead and wrap up all the line sets. So let me do that tonight and some tomorrow, and then I'll check in with you guys tomorrow for a, hey, it's run overnight, good, bad, horrible, and let you guys know. Alright, it's been a couple of days and installation is completely done. As you guys saw from that footage, I've got everything taped up, attached, and pinned securely, I guess, as best as I can do. The line set across the middle, it may look like it's drooping, and you may think, ah ha ha, it's already sagging, Sam. I actually did that on purpose. I put a little bit of a bow in it. That way, as it rains, the rainwater goes to the middle and drips down in the middle. I'm not funneling it towards this building or that one. So that was by choice. Otherwise, I use a good quality white exterior tape to wrap everything up. This is not what you get in the kit with mini splits by any means. This is stuff that I bought just to wrap it up so it looks nice, and hopefully it will stay protected from the elements as much as possible. Alright, I have both indoor air units on high, and as low as the temperature goes, they are in AC mode. It's about 75 degrees outside today, and I wanted you to hear how loud this is or is not. Not too bad, right? Definitely so much quieter than larger, more traditional HVAC systems for homes. At least any that I've ever been around. Those things are super loud when they kick on. You can hear and almost feel those compressors kick on. These guys, mini splits, are so much quieter. Obviously, it'll ramp up and down as it needs to, so that is great. It's also one of the things that leads to these being so much more energy efficient, is that they will ramp their speed up and down with the fans and compressors and do things smart. Now, I'm no mini splitologist, so that's about all I'm going to say, because hopefully I'm still correct and haven't just fed you guys a bunch of malarkey. But in my experience with this unit and the one at our house, which is a different brand, is kind of how they seem to operate. I like them. They're really good. So one of the things that I was curious about is with this unit on the wall, on that bracket out here, is there any kind of resonance, any kind of vibration noise or extra noise inside my workshop as compared to how it is with our house setup where we have a mini split unit on the ground? I can probably tell a little bit of resonance sound whenever it first ramps up, but compared to other sounds in my workshop, it is nothing to worry about. And even if it was on the outside of the wall of a home, I still don't think it's anything to worry about. A lot of times you may be in a situation where you must mount this to your wall or your structure. Other times you may not have this luxury. So it was nice to see this kind of operation and see how it works, how loud it is not. And compared to our house, yeah, you can hear it a little bit, but it's nothing bad at all. Especially if you compare it to window AC units like I've been using in this shop for my cooling. It's absolutely night and day. So coming inside the shop, you see the indoor unit over here behind my shoulder. This is the larger workshop. This is a 20 by 32 structure, and so this one 12,000 BTU unit should do very well. It is the same size as the window AC unit that I've been previously using, and even through the heat of summer, that AC was able to keep this place nice and cool. I've added some small little ceiling fans in here, so that definitely helps with air movement. But with this location being right here and blowing straight down the length of the building, I really don't think I'll probably need those ceiling fans too much. So one of the cool things about this air handler unit that I discovered is that it has a swing function up and down, which is pretty standard. However, this one also has a swing function left and right. So you can set it to either go left and right only or up and down. That is really cool. That's also something I have not seen in other mini split units as far as the one we have in our house or my friends that have installed other brands, and that this one is pretty cool. So it's a really neat feature to allow one unit to really try its best to mix the air and heat or cool your space efficiently, and I definitely thought it was worth mentioning. I have you guys pretty much in the dark because we are in my tiny shop, or my old workshop, which is primarily storage. So lights off, because that's generally how this place is. I did want to take a second to let you know that even though this is a dual zone or a 2-zone unit, I can turn this one off and on independently of the one in the big shop. Since this space is not a human workspace, so to speak, and it's more of a storage area, it doesn't need to be heated as much or cooled as much like the big shop needs to be. So having the ability to turn this one off or turn it to lower settings or higher settings depending upon heat or cool is really helpful for saving energy and allowing the one in the big shop to do most of the work. And with that, the mini split is installed and has been running and is doing fantastic. The noise level in here in my shop now has been greatly reduced from my window AC that I've always used out here to this unit. It is night and day. Honestly, sometimes it's a little too quiet, but that's okay. I'll just have to start singing to myself. So let's talk about the problems that I had with installation, because that to me is the most important. I only really had one main problem, and that was that Schrader valve on the top system, I don't remember if it was A or B, low pressure side, leaked as soon as I opened the valve to release the refrigerant from the outdoor unit. If I did not have my vacuum pump and my adapter, which I already knew had a built-in Schrader valve, and did not think quick enough to put it on there to stop the leak, I would have been up a creek without a paddle for my 100% SAM DIY installation. Hopefully it's just a fluke, but it is something that I did want to mention. I will reach out to the company, let them know that I did have the issue, but at this point for me, it's kind of a moot point. I've already got it fixed, I've already got the piece in place, and I will just consider that adapter a permanent install to make it a custom thing, I guess. As I think about you, the viewer, who are watching this, whether you be just like me, you have your own vacuum pump, and you want to do exactly like I did, I would be careful of that Schrader valve and definitely watch that. Perhaps have that adapter on hand, or be willing to sacrifice it if you run into the exact same boat as me. Hopefully that won't happen. Hopefully, again, this was just a fluke. Now, just think about viewers who may be watching this and say, well, you know, I would install the components, but I'm not going to get a vacuum pump. I'm not going to do that. I'll just ring up my HVAC guy and they'll come do it for me. I think in that case you'll be fine, because if there is a bad Schrader valve, your HVAC tech will be there. They will have the proper equipment to capture the refrigerant, probably replace the valve, and fix it. So I don't consider this a deal breaker, so to speak. And again, to say it, I guess, a millionth time, hopefully this was just a fluke with me. Now, outside of that, this installation went great. The indoor units are good quality, robust, weren't missing any parts or pieces. The outdoor unit, same thing, great quality, innards and outwards, covers everything. No complaints at all. I also like the wall mount that came with this kit, being that it is completely stainless and that you lock it down in and of itself to make it rigid, and then you set the unit on top. While this is the only wall unit I've ever personally put together, just comparing visually this version with others that I saw, this one looks pretty good. Again, I have no other experience other than this, which has been great, so take it for what it's worth. As far as the line sets, these have insulation with them that is really, really good quality. Better than the system we installed on our house, which is a much higher dollar system. Take note of that one. So the insulation, the little white portion on the line sets, I like it a lot better. I like how the two are together and they are fused, but when you need to take them apart, say when you're getting your connections together, you just peel it apart and they are individually insulated. That is phenomenal. 2 thumbs up on that one for sure. Otherwise, everything else you get is the same level of quality as the expensive unit we put in our home. Again, to compare an apple with an orange, I guess, this one is just as good. So there you go. That's Sam's experience, I guess you could say. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this installation. Why? because that's it for the installation. This guy's been running for a while, a couple of days, and has been great. I had no issues with it keeping the workshop warm enough last night. The energy usage, or rather energy efficiency of this unit being a 22 SEER rating is going to be excellent, not only for general grid power usage, but since this whole workshop is now off grid from that inverter video we did prior, that's even more important, because prior to this I was either using a window AC for cooling or 2 space heaters for heating, which neither one is as efficient as a mini split system. If you guys got any questions or comments, leave them for us down below. If you want to check out the Turbro systems, there's a link to them down below as well. Again, thanks Turbro for sending Workshop Sam the mini split. He's very happy. Otherwise, takes care, and I'll see you guys next time on the channel.
This is not fun.
I give you the 4-letter job.
So I'm putting the brackets on that. What brackets?
We're putting the next pieces on.
We're not putting. With that done, we can now. I got it going.
Got it going? Alright, got it going. Let's go. I guess. I mean, there's no holes with it, though. Maybe just to poke the hole through. Yeah, you poke the hole through. Hang on, let me get the manual. That doesn't look right. There we go. It is all, yeah. I wasn't recording the whole time. If you don't have a lot of experience with Fooey, it's unplugged. Hang on. Again, made from a different brand, and that, what am I going to say? I wanted to make sure I leave enough room around it so it can. But what is really cool is that it has an option for left and right swing as well. So this unit will go up, is that it has a swing function up and down.